In this video, we're going to solve 6 classic energy problems. We're going to use this checklist to guide us in solving these problems. Question 1. A block of mass m is released from rest at the top of an incline of length d and angle theta. The coefficient of kinetic friction is mu k. Find the work done by gravity, work done by friction, and the final speed. Our first step will be to define the system, and our system is going to be this block. Step 2, is mechanical energy conserved? Mechanical energy is not conserved because there is work done by friction, which is a non-conservative force. Step 3, include non-conservative work. In order to calculate work, we're going to need to draw a force diagram and analyze the forces. We're going to first indicate the positive x and y direction. The gravity force is pulling down on the block. The normal force is pushing perpendicular to the surface of the incline, and friction force is in the opposite direction that the block is sliding. Because the gravity force is not along the x and y axis, we're going to need to break that into its x and y component. The component that is opposite theta will be mg sine theta, and the component that is adjacent to theta will be mg cosine theta. Next, we're going to calculate work, and work is equal to the parallel component of the force times the displacement. So the work done by gravity is mg sine theta times the displacement, and the work done by friction is equal to the friction force, which is mu times the normal force times the displacement. The reason there's a negative is because the friction is in the opposite direction as the displacement. Now the normal force is equal to mg cosine theta because there's no acceleration along the y-axis. So the work done by friction force is equal to negative mu k times mg cosine theta times the displacement. We're going to bracket these two equations, both the work done by gravity and the work done by friction, to calculate the final speed. Step 4 is to write the energy equation and solve. We can either use the conservation of energy equation or the work energy theorem. We're going to use the work energy theorem, work equals the change in kinetic energy, because we're looking for the final speed, and kinetic energy is related to speed. The work here is representing the sum of the work, or the net work. Both gravity and friction is doing work on the system. So on the left-hand side, we have mg sine theta times the displacement minus mu k times mg cosine theta times the displacement equal to the final kinetic energy minus the initial kinetic energy. Because the object initially is not moving, the initial kinetic energy is 0. Now on both sides, there is an m because you see the m over here, and then in the kinetic energy is also an m. So we can cross those m's out, and that gives us g sine theta times displacement minus mu k times g cosine theta times displacement equal to 1 over 2 v final squared. We're solving for the final velocity. To isolate the final velocity, we can multiply 2 on both sides, then square root both sides, and that gives us v final is equal to square root 2gd sine theta minus 2 mu k gd cosine theta. Factoring out the 2gd, we get that the final speed is equal to the square root of 2gd times sine theta minus mu k cosine theta. Question 2. A cart of mass m compresses a spring with a spring constant k by a distance of x. After leaving the spring, it travels a distance d on a rough surface and stops. Find the maximum speed and solve for the coefficient of kinetic friction. We're going to first define our system, and our system is the cart and the spring. Is mechanical energy conserved? Mechanical energy is not conserved in the second part of the problem because there's friction, but in the first part of the problem, it is conserved. When mechanical energy is conserved, we can use our conservation of mechanical energy equation, which states that the total initial mechanical energy, K plus U, is equal to the total final mechanical energy, K plus U. The initial kinetic energy is 0 because the cart starts from rest. And the final spring potential energy is also 0 because the spring is uncompressed. The equation for spring potential energy is 1 over 2 kx squared, and we're going to set that equal to 1 over 2 mv squared. That's the kinetic energy of the cart. So we have an energy transfer from the spring to the cart. Next, we're going to isolate the velocity. And to do that, we're going to first cancel out the 1/2. And then to solve for v, we're going to divide m on both sides, square root on both sides, and we get that the maximum speed is equal to the square root kx squared divided by m. Next, we're going to solve for the coefficient of kinetic friction. We're going to use the work energy theorem, which states that the work is equal to the change in kinetic energy. In the second part of the problem, the cart slows to a stop because of friction. So friction is doing the work here. And you'll notice there's a negative because the force of friction is in the opposite direction as the displacement. And we can set that equal to the change in kinetic energy. Because the cart slows down to a stop, this term right here is we're going to set that equal to 0. The frictional force is mu times the normal force times the displacement. We're going to set that equal to 1 over 2 mv initial squared. You notice that the negatives will cancel out. Because the cart is on a horizontal surface, the normal force is equal to the weight or the gravity force of the cart. So we can substitute mg for the normal force. The m's will cancel out, and we're solving for the coefficient of friction. So that gives us mu is equal to vi squared divided by 2g times the displacement. We can substitute the velocity from the first part of the problem, which is square root of kx squared over m, and that gives us mu is equal to kx squared divided by 2mgd. Question 3. An object of mass m is lifted vertically upward at constant speed by a motor. The object is raised a vertical distance h in a total time delta t. Find the work done by the motor. Find the average power delivered by the motor. Find the instantaneous power delivered by the motor. And show that the instantaneous power is constant and equal to the average power. In this problem, we have a mass m pulled up by a motor through a rope. It is moving up at constant speed and it's pulled up a height h. We're going to first draw a force diagram. Because it's moving at constant speed, we know that the forces are balanced. So the force pulling it up is equal to the weight of the block, which is mg. To calculate the work, we can take the force parallel times the displacement. And the force parallel here is mg, and the displacement is the height. So the work done by the motor is mgh. Next, we're going to calculate the average power. To find the average power, we use average power equal to the work divided by the time interval. The work, which we just calculated, is mgh, so the average power is equal to mgh divided by the time interval. Next, we're going to calculate the instantaneous power delivered by the motor. The instantaneous power is equal to the force times the velocity. The force and the velocity should be in the same direction, or at least use the component of the force in the direction of the velocity. We know that the force is mg, which we showed through the force diagram, and so the instantaneous power is mgv. Next, we're going to show that the instantaneous power is constant and equal to the average power. We know that velocity is equal to the displacement divided by the time. The displacement here is the height. Time is the delta t. Plugging this into our mgv, we get that the instantaneous power is equal to mg times h over the time interval, or mgh divided by the time interval. And this equation is exactly the same as what we got for the average power. So when the object is getting moved at constant speed, the instantaneous power is equal to the average power. Question 4. A pendulum of length L is released from rest from angle theta. Find the speed at the bottom. Find the tension at the bottom. Here we have a pendulum swinging back and forth. The length of the pendulum is L, and above this dotted line, we have L cosine theta because this side of the triangle is adjacent to theta. Below the dotted line, we have L minus L cosine theta. Because mechanical energy is conserved, we'll use our conservation of mechanical energy equation, which states that Ki plus Ui equals Kf plus Uf. Initially, the pendulum is not moving, so the kinetic energy is 0. And then when the pendulum is at the lowest point, the potential energy is 0 if we set the lowest point as height equal to 0. Gravitational potential energy, we'll substitute that with mgh, and the final kinetic energy, we'll substitute that with 1 over 2 mv squared. You'll notice that there's m on both sides, so we'll cancel out the m's, and that gives us g times. And for the h, we're going to substitute that with L minus L cosine theta, because that's the vertical displacement. Set that equal to 1 over 2 v squared. Factoring out the L, we get GL times 1 minus cosine theta is equal to 1 over 2 v squared. Solving for v, we're going to multiply 2 on both sides and square root both sides, and we get that v is equal to square root 2gl times 1 minus cosine theta. Next, we're going to calculate the tension force at the bottom of the pendulum. The pendulum has two forces acting on it, the gravity force down and the tension force up. The tension force will be greater than the gravity force because the center of the circular motion is above. Using this net centripetal force equation, we get that the net centripetal force is equal to mv squared over r. The net centripetal force is the tension force minus mg. We're going to set that equal to mv squared divided by L, and L is the length of the pendulum. We're going to isolate the tension by adding mg on both sides, and that gives us T equals to mv squared over L plus mg. You'll notice there's m on both of these terms here, so we're going to factor out the m. You'll notice that there's a v here, and this v is the speed that we just calculated for the speed at the bottom of the pendulum, so we're going to substitute that value in for v, and we get that that the tension force is equal to m times 2gl times 1 minus cosine theta all over L plus g. Next, we're going to cancel out the L, and that leaves us with m times 2g times 1 minus cosine theta plus g. We're going to distribute the g's, and then you'll notice that there's a 2g here and a g there. We're going to add those two up together to get 3g, and so the tension is equal to mg times 3 minus 2 cosine theta. Question 5. A cart starts at rest at height h above a loop of radius r. Find the minimum height and the speed at the bottom. At the top of this loop, there is a gravity force pulling down on the cart. We're going to use the net centripetal force equation to find the minimum speed you would need at the very top of the loop to get all the way through this loop. And we're going to use net Fc equal to mv squared over r. To get the minimum speed you need to get all the way around the loop, we're going to use just the gravity force to play the role of the centripetal force here. So no normal force, just gravity force. That will give you the minimum speed you need to get over this loop. Notice the m's cancel out. V squared equals g, big R. Square root both sides, we get v is equal to square root g times big R. To find the minimum height, we're going to use the conservation of mechanical energy. The initial kinetic energy is 0, and we're going to substitute mgh for the potential energy initial, and 1 over 2 mv squared for the kinetic, and mg times 2r for the final potential energy, because the loop has a radius of r, so at the top of the loop, we have a height of 2r. The m's will cancel out, and we are solving for h, so h we get 5 over 2 times big R. To calculate the speed at the bottom, we'll once again use the conservation of mechanical energy. This time, the initial kinetic energy is 0, same as before, but for the final situation, the potential energy will be set to 0 because we're looking for the speed at the bottom, and we're setting the bottom of the roller coaster to be height equals 0. This gives us mgh is equal to 1 over 2 mv squared. Solving for v squared, we get 2gh. H is the height of the minimum height, which we just calculated, which is 5 over 2r. So combining 2g times 5 over 2r, we get 5gr because the 2's cancel out. Square rooting both sides, we get v is equal to square root 5gr. Question 6. A block of mass m1 slides across a frictionless surface with speed v0 and collides inelastically, sticking to a second block of mass m2 at rest. After the collision, the combined mass slides into a rough surface with coefficient of kinetic friction mu k and travels a distance d before coming to rest. Find the speed vf of the combined mass immediately after the collision. Find the distance traveled before stopping. Determine mu k in terms of the given variables. This is an example of a perfectly inelastic collision because we have one object colliding with another object and sticking together. We can use the conservation of momentum, which states that the total initial momentum equals the total final momentum. The total initial momentum is m1 v naught plus m2 v2, and the final total momentum is m1 plus m2 times v. Since m2 initially is not moving and has no momentum, we're going to set that term to 0. We're solving for v. We're going to divide both sides by m1 plus m2, and we get that the v is equal to m1 v naught divided by m1 plus m2. After the two blocks stick together, they are sliding over a rough surface. So we have work done by friction on the two blocks. So we're going to use the work energy theorem, which states that the work is equal to the change in kinetic energy. The work is done by friction, so we're going to have a negative work because the frictional force is in the opposite direction of the friction. And the equation for friction is mu times the normal force. And so we have on the left-hand side negative mu times the normal force times displacement equal to the final kinetic energy minus the initial kinetic energy. Since the two blocks come to a stop, the final kinetic energy, we can set that equal to 0. And you'll notice that the normal force is equal to mg because it's on a horizontal surface. So those two forces are balanced. And here the masses will cancel out. That leaves us with mu gd is equal to 1 over 2 v squared. Solving for mu, we get v squared over 2gd. And plugging in the initial velocity, we get that mu is equal to m1 v naught squared divided by 2gd times m1 plus m2 squared. If you found this video helpful, check out my next video where I solve 6 torque and rotational dynamics problems.